What's good, Travel Hour fam? Welcome back to another episode of the Travel Hour. It is Matthew, and I got my co-host here, Joc, and we're so glad to be back with you for episode 6. Can you believe, Joc, that we have made it to episode 6? We're halfway through our season.
Halfway through. It's been a pleasure though. Been a great
It's,
ride.
it's been a joy. It's been a pleasure, and we made it. And it's only the beginning, right? So I know some people like, oh, they only 6 episodes in, talking about they halfway through the season. Hey, don't worry about us. Worry about yourself. Listen, we were trying to test the waters with the whole podcast thing, and so our podcast is bi-weekly, and so we just wanted to test it out. And we're slated to end our first season in July. So yeah, we on episode 6 and we halfway through the podcast, and we want to first shout out to everybody who's been tuning in and
Yes, sir.
listening. We got an email this past week congratulating us because we have had 200 downloads for the Travel Hour podcast, and we are so appreciative because we could not have done it without you all who are listening or watching. So shout out to y'all. And big ups to y'all because we really appreciate your support. And if this is your first time, welcome to the family. You're part of the family. We don't meet no strangers. You don't meet strangers when you're traveling. So
Yes, sir.
welcome to the Travel Hour. And welcome to the family. And do us a favor. Go ahead and subscribe, add this to your podcast playlist, whether it's Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, whatever it is. Add us. Come join the Travel Hour fam, so we can continue to keep progressing forward. So I'm excited about the direction we're headed in. But before we do all of that, I just want to check in with Joc. Joc, how you doing today?
I'm good. I'm feeling good. I have been moving around a lot. I think that summer is here. The heat is here. We're outside. We're moving around. Things like Memorial Day weekend's a couple weeks away. So like I'm feeling good, man. I'm super excited, man. And at the end of the day, just really like I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be in this space.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the resonating messages for me this week has just been gratitude,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm just thankful, to be here, to have a super dope co-host, and you. I appreciate you
Appreciate
for
you. Appreciate you. Shout out to you.
no, and like at the end of the day, I appreciate you for answering the call, right? And
Yeah.
so when things are meant to be, what I am learning through my journeys is that when things are meant, they fall into place and they start to happen for you,
Yeah.
right? And so the way things have just started to fall into place and it's really starting to become a fruit of the labor that's been put in, man, I'm excited now. All I can show is just gratitude. So I'm just grateful to be here right now, man. That's how I'm feeling.
That's what's up. I'm definitely right there with you. And I know I'm probably sound like a broken record, but I'm just excited, man. I'm really just excited to see where we're headed to. Right, where we are is not where we're going. And so I'm definitely grateful. Like you said, I'm grateful as well, just to be in this space and have this opportunity. And to also we provide encouragement to so many other people who listen and tune in, and encourage and inspire them to go out and see what the world has to offer. So um, that's something that brings me purpose. So I'm just excited, and I'm buckled in for the ride, for the journey. So yeah, man.
Yes, sir. Let's get it.
Episode 6, here we are. Man, Joc, as you say, you've been on the go. Um, but I know, in spite of you being on the go, you stay tuned into what's happening in the world probably a little more than I do, and I ought to be ashamed because I'm a political science major. But
Man, pile
you
aside.
you stay up on current events probably a little more than I do. So let us know what's happening in the world.
Yeah. And so, for me, like what I try to stay, like I do like to know what's going on. That's my old man roots coming out. So
Mhm.
my father growing up, especially my dad's side of the family, like they always watch the news. Like when you come in the house, they got the news on, right? So it's kind of like, saying that's been instilled in me. I don't really watch the news, but like for example, I've got my Alexa routine set up in the morning. So every
Mhm.
morning, like I wake up and Alexa tells me what the weather's gonna be like, what's everything looking like, and it also goes to like the current events. And so I try to stay abreast
Yeah.
in that way. And so it's important to me. I just, I'm born and I can be old at times, but
Hey, I'm right there with you though. My the same thing was happening in my house. My dad watches CNN religiously.
Right.
And so I may not watch it religiously like he does, but I do have a CNN app on my phone and it constantly sending me notifications every time something is going on. So um yeah, shout out to social media because that's how I get some of my news too. But then I have to go fact check it, make sure.
Yeah, you do got
Uh,
to fact check, like the
check
shade
them
room is
dates on them
cool, but
articles. Check the
yeah,
date
you
on
want.
them articles because people be sharing stuff that happened 10 years ago as if it happened yesterday.
Mm-hmm. So you definitely want to fact check and make sure it's coming from a reliable source, because sometimes folks are worried about getting it out first instead of it being accurate.
Yeah,
And so that's definitely a good reason to fact check. And then also just being to stay in the breath of what's going on in the world is super important, especially if you want to travel. So you just kind of abreast of certain things.
yeah,
Not saying that you got to know everything, but it just helps in certain instances, right?
for sure.
But yeah, since the last time we've convened, a lot has happened.
A lot has happened.
And in today's episode of the ghetto we call the USA, we gonna talk about Roe versus Wade, which Roe versus Wade was landmark legislation
hmm
that made it legal for women to choose the right to have an abortion if they so choose, and this was passed back in the 70s by the Supreme Court. In the famous case as we know as Roe versus Wade, right? Um, some things happened, and so as we saw, there was a leak with some of the justice decision
hmm
because Roe versus Wade was reheard. Let me stage some things real quick though before we even get to that part, right? Um, I will say this: everybody has a right to vote. Everybody has their right in America to choose which candidate is best for them. What is funny to me is that I've heard a lot of black people lately talking about, yeah, I was going to vote for Donald Trump, or I'll vote for Donald Trump if you do this or this, and that, right? What I will tell you, which was significant about Donald Trump's presidency, was that he nominated 3 Supreme Court justices.
hmm
We
hmm
never thought that we would see the day where Roe versus Wade would actually be challenged or brought back before the Supreme Court.
Right.
And a lot of that comes from the influence of the 3 Supreme Court justices that Donald Trump was able to get
hmm
into the bench, right? And so here we are. We're going back to Roe versus Wade about a woman's fundamental right to choose if she would like to proceed with the pregnancy, right? And so what it looks like is that it's going to be overturned. However, this is a leak, so nothing is official yet.
Right.
But MP, knowing the facts of what they is and Roe versus Wade, where you at, man? Like, how you feeling?
It's 2022 and we're still trying to tell women what to do with their bodies. I think that the fact that this is even being revisited um, is definitely not cool by any means. And whatever side of the fence you stand on, whether you are pro life or pro choice, I think that at the end of the day, is that individual's right to choose whether or not they want to proceed with their pregnancy, right? Whether you want to use it on the basis of religion or whatever. And I'm right. I'm not right there with you, but I'm I'm probably in church just as much as some of these other people. But I firmly believe that it is. But I still think I'm probably pro-choice when it comes to that matter. Not saying that I support abortion, but it's not my decision.
And I think that that's the biggest thing, right? Is that before we even get down into the weeds, we're on face value, we're talking about a majority of men
Mm-hmm.
deciding what women should do with their bodies, right? And so
Right.
when we talk about the roots of this country, how it was founded amongst a white patriarch, we've got to be very conscious about how we deal with our women in this country, because at the end of the day, they keep hollering about it's the land of the free, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, like, you know, when you talk about pregnancy, that is such a subjective situation that you have to take it on a case by case basis, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you eliminate somebody's choice or a decision to make those choices for themselves, we find ourselves in a different place, right?
Right.
As we talk about things like, now you're talking about people having to either, saying participate in illegal activities. You may have had people like have to go across state lines to do things because at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, let's be honest,
It's not gonna
women
stop
get
it. It's
raped.
just gonna make it more riskier.
Exactly. And so it's like one of the things that men don't have to worry about that women have to worry about. We all know that women make up the majority of rape cases in the United States, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
That as a man, I'm not fearful of getting raped, right? Or sexually assaulted, right?
Hmm.
As a woman, that's probably something that goes through their minds on a day-to-day basis, right? Like I have to be cognizant about what situation I put myself in, right? And so,
Right.
you know, you're telling this woman that if something happens, yeah, like you don't have a right to, you know, choose what's best for you. I think we get into a scary place, and you're talking about a country that's supposed to be the land of the free.
Yeah.
So
And I
that's kind of
think,
where I'm at, man.
yeah. And I think one of the problems that I have with the whole, pro life, their arguments and everything is that they want to yell that they're so pro life, and care so much about the baby or the embryo before it's born, but really don't care about life after the baby is born, or will support the death penalty, right? But you're supposed to be pro life. So I think that's something that where I just don't agree. And I think that um, the states that were prepared to overturn their laws, if this were to go through, I think it's shame on them. Shame on them. Like, yeah, shame on them.
Yeah, I saw somebody post on social media that said, you know, gentlemen, like when is it okay for a man to speak on a woman's body? And I said, you know what? My birthday, because that's the day I came out of one, and that's it. That's the only
That's
thing
the
I can
only
speak to.
thing. Look,
And
I
thank you,
can't.
mama, for having me.
Right. If it ain't got to do nothing with July 17th, 1990, around about 6 something in the morning at Akron General Hospital, I ain't got nothing to say about it.
That's it. That's it. And you know, I come from a family where I have, you know, two sisters, one younger, one older. My grandmother was very integral and part of my life. My mother was too. And so, you know, at the end of the day, like there's just various reasons. There could be life-threatening reasons why a woman may have to choose to terminate a pregnancy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's just a various amounts of reasons. And let's be honest, bro, like when a woman gets pregnant, she has to now carry a child for 9 months. A man
Right.
does not.
And I saw a post the other day saying that when a woman gets pregnant, she can only carry, she has one full term pregnancy. When a man releases sperm or engages in sex, they can create multiple full term pregnancies in whatever women that they sleep with. And yet, we want to talk about women having abortions and not talking about the real issue.
Yeah, and it's funny too because I laugh at some of our politicians sometimes because you know they pick and choose when they want to apply biblical terms, even though
Right. Mm-hmm.
and it's just like, but y'all wanted to take God out of the Pledge of Allegiance though. But the same folk hollering talking about some yeah I'm pro life, and so it's just very interesting, and it's like you know, um, one thing that traveling has helped me with is that you know I grew up with this mantra like yeah America is the best country in the world because that's what I've been told growing up, right? Land of the free,
Mm-hmm.
home of the brave. And then you go to other nations and see like how they're more so focused on the social issues of their actual country versus just monetary gain and worried about policing the world, like you
Mm-hmm.
will quickly realize like America is not necessarily the best country in the world.
Mm-mm. And they be like on game with the social things that are happening in our country, right? Sometimes more than we are. And yeah, yeah, it's I don't know. America, America is America. This is America. Um, I'm not saying that it's not completely a horrible place because I've been here my whole life, but we definitely got some things we still need to work on.
Yeah, I never thought I would see the day in my lifetime that Roe versus Wade would actually be before the Supreme Court again, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Um,
At this point, I've learned not to get, not to be too caught off guard or surprised by what comes, because at this point, people liable to try anything these days. So I just, prepare for the best, but expect the worst.
Yeah, and that's super interesting too because I think it also breaks down to an issue of class, right?
Yeah.
when you start like saying allowing states to outlaw saying the right to abortion, what happens is people that have the ability to flock to another state to get it done will do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what about the folks who don't have that, right? And I think about it's like these rich politicians, right? If your daughter gets pregnant by somebody from a circumstance you don't agree with, you have the funds to either take them to either out of the country or to a state that allows it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what about the folks who don't have those means, right?
Right.
And so that's super very important. And I know people keep hollering about, oh, well, adoption's an option, right? Do you know what pregnancy does to the woman's body?
It changes it literally.
Like
It's like it's like a whole reconfiguration.
so it's going to be interesting how things play out. I do want to say that nothing is official yet because the official opinion has not come out. We do know that there was
Mm-hmm.
a leak made. I believe that leak was made in the spirit of trying to get the justice to switch
Yeah.
their opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And the justices are allowed to switch their opinions. It's been done. It's been documented
Yeah.
before. And I hope that this is the leverage that may cause that switch, but we'll see.
We'll see. We shall see.
But for our women out there, a part of our Travel Our family, we stand with you and we support y'all
We
at the end
definitely
of the
do.
day.
Definitely.
So yeah, Roe versus Wade been going on, and then we got Dave Chappelle that went up on stage, and what's going on in California, Matt? What's up
Let,
with your people on the West Side, man? What's going on?
let me tell you something. That was a whole mess. Uh yeah, it was crazy. Um
Can you
I
walk
wa-
me through
I
the
wasn't
story?
there. I
You
wasn't
wasn't there,
there.
but I
I
know it's
did
I
I
know
did
it's, I know it's the word on the street in LA. So can you walk me through this? Because I know you out there in them LA streets. What's going on?
listen, I was listening to a podcast yesterday on my way to work, and it was some people who were actually there at the Hollywood Bowl, and they were explaining what was going on. And it was like, I think it happened after um Dave Chappelle finished his set. And old buddy from the crowd jumped on the stage and tried to tackle Dave Chappelle, right? Try to tackle him. And then if you watch the video, you see like his manager came out, missed him, missed old buddy, he fell. The security guard came out, fell. And all the while, I think Dave Chappelle was trying to grab a hold of him. And then old buddy ran to the back of the stage, which was his number one mistake because he ran towards everybody who was backstage. So everybody came from backstage, and like, dang, they stumped him out. I think even Jamie Foxx came out and was stomping him out. So it was crazy. Yeah. Um, yeah, it was crazy. I don't know what's going on in California. I just don't know everybody trying to contribute it to Will Smith going on the stage and smacking Chris Rock, and now it says that has emboldened everybody, and now they think they can just run on stage and do whatever. That was a whole mess, though. Did you see the pictures of old buddy afterwards? Like, his arm was like dislocated, but it looked like he had his hand, I guess, kind of on his hip, but his elbow was way in front of him. It was crazy. It was. I bet you he'll think twice next time.
Y'all better leave them folk alone, man.
Better leave them people alone.
Look, as somebody, I used to bounce back in the day. I'm a former college football player. I'm 6'5", 300 pounds plus. Does some private security, does some bouncing, and I consider myself to be a nice guy. But if you take it there, we gonna make sure we get the last stomp, not the
Right.
word, but the last stomp, and as he should. They
And I
got
think
on.
people fail to realize that these people travel with entourages.
Yes.
And you're not just gonna encounter one person. You're going to encounter a whole group of people, and and it's not gonna be pretty.
In which they should though whoop his ass,
Right.
because at the end of the day, like I think sometimes we get caught up in the facade of folks being celebrities. These people are trying to get home to their kids and their family at the end of the day.
They
Sometimes,
trying to make a living just like the rest of us. They out there
exactly.
making money, working. That's what they doing.
Hmm.
Work, and you got the nerve. Just come through the crowd. just hop on stage and try to tackle somebody. Like I don't
Hey,
know, if you were offended by a joke that was made by Dave Chappelle, but listen, bro, like if you can't handle a joke, don't go to a comedy show.
and that's facts. And I think like at the end of the day, like it's Dave Chappelle, like his jokes always have meaning behind them. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're well thought out, they're articulate. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he's not coming to disrespect nobody with his intent. You know, it's comedy. And I think like
Right.
he's one of the greatest comedians all time and of our era. And so shout out to Dave Chappelle because he was sticking and bobbing and moving and weaving. He could have got stabbed.
Right.
So
Right.
shout out to Dave Chappelle, man.
In the videos, like he told like, hold on, I gotta go see this, and ran back there, I guess to see your buddy getting beat up, and then ran back out. And then at the end, Chris Rock can come out on stage talking. So was that Will Smith? So yeah, man.
Y'all leave the comedians alone. Learn how to take a joke. Let it roll
Listen,
off your sleeve, you know.
that's over there in Hollywood. I guess that's I don't know. That's on the other side of town from where I'm at. We
Not
ain't running on.
Hollywood.
We not running on stages and tackling folks here in Long Beach. So I don't know what they got going on over there.
You said that don't happen in the beach alone, huh?
Nah, it ain't happening in Strong Beach. Nah.
Well, that's what's up, man. That's what's up. Well, we also have some news, and it's probably met with mixed emotion. But as you know, Kevin Samuel passed away this week, um, and so yeah, Kevin Samuel was very controversial,
Very.
um, very opinionated, and at the end of the day, like I don't know, what actually happened with this that cause of death. I think that'll be released later, obviously,
Well,
but
I think they did release it. I know it was like heart something, maybe some type of heart failure.
okay. So, and I
Um,
think like we haven't really gotten the autopsy report, which takes a few weeks. Well, it takes a couple of months sometimes, but they'll probably confirm with the first responders. Probably
mhm.
had
from
suspicion.
from what I gathered, he passed out or he collapsed while entertaining a young lady.
Sheesh.
I'll leave it at that. So
It wasn't the Red Bull.
if you gotta go, I guess that might be. I don't know.
What they say on Color Purple? How'd he go? On
Right.
top of me.
what movie is that? I can't even think of. It's the movie that was out, and that's how the dad died. Too. I can't. It was it a Medea movie? It might have been a Medea movie. Or oh, buddy, yeah. Listen, Lord, yeah. Anywho, that's a note too. To I was watching somebody else talking about just like spreading a word to like influencers, like to really take care of yourselves, right? Because from the outside looking on, you would think that Kevin Samuels was healthy, right? Whether you liked him or didn't like him, you would have thought that maybe he was healthy, in shape or whatever. Yeah, but these influencers out here, they're trying to please everybody else and neglecting themselves in the process. But yeah, very controversial. I people were like celebrating the fact that he was dead. I don't agree with that. I don't think anybody like I don't think death is something whether you like a person or don't like somebody a person or you don't agree with what they said. I don't think that uh them dying should be something that we celebrate, right? Or say that they got what they deserve because of X, Y, and Z, right? Because at the end of the day, these people they're still people, they're still humans, right? Whether we like them or not, whether we agree with their philosophy, whether we agree with what they said, and they still have people that are left behind to mourn their loss, right? I even was said that Kevin Samuel's mom, how she found out her son was dead was on Twitter, and somebody had put like a nasty tweet about him being dead, and that's how she found out her son was dead. And so I think we just have to be mindful, right? Whether we agree,
Mhm.
or not, right? Yeah, I'm not saying that I agree with what he said or whatever, but I don't think that we should be like celebrating someone's demise. Um, and that might just be me too, because I don't really deal with death too well.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I don't wish death on nobody. Even though I'm very aware that it's the inevitable. But yeah, so yeah. How you feel about it, Jock?
No, I agree. Like, definitely plus one to what you said as well. Like, it's just, um, when somebody dies, it's still death, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
he was a father. He's widowed several women, and so at the end of the day, like that takes a toll. His mother, is without a son, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm very conscious of that. Like at the end of the day, like the person we saw on YouTube is not the person he was, as a father, as a parent, as a son, as an uncle, as a brother, right? And so I think we have to be very, very much conscious of that. At the end of the day, everything that Kevin Samuel said, I didn't agree with, right? But there also was
Mm-hmm.
some truth to some of the things he said.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest critique I ever had of Kevin Samuel was just the way he did it, his delivery and the message.
Yeah, and I
You
think
know,
he knew that though, right? Like he released a video maybe a couple of years ago. He's first of all, he's not new to the scene. He's been doing it for over like 3 years, but he released a video pretty much saying, like if he was to get on the internet and dog women, his views would be through the roof,
uh-huh.
right? And that's one thing that happened, whether people agree with it or didn't agree. His views, they
Mhm.
went up, right? He became a name in people's conversations, whether it was good or bad, whatever. Um, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people, and that's the society we live in now. Is that the internet allows us to be numb to stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's like we love to celebrate people's demises, right? And so I think that's what it was. Like, yes, the message you're saying, does have some validity to it, but at the same time, the platform is what people get a rise out of, right?
Yeah.
Oh, like let me watch you like berate this woman in front of everybody, right?
Right. And it's just like
Um,
reality television. Why is reality television so popular?
yeah,
Because we enjoy it.
right. And so my challenge to all men all the time is that at the end of the day, like we can't decide to be men after we have a daughter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I've had my shortcomings, like not a saint at all. But at the same time, it's like, hey, like I've learned through growth. It's like, you know what? Some things is better left unsaid, or it's like, let me pull you to the side and get
Yeah.
you together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so at the end of the day, like I've seen a lot of people like, like, oh, whoop, whoop, and it turned into like a battle of, like pitting men against women. That's what it shouldn't be. But what I do challenge my fellas out to think about is like, even if some of the stuff he said was right, the way he delivered the message, would you feel
Mm-hmm.
comfortable with him talking to your mother or your daughter like that?
Mm-mm. And we always say it's not about what you say; it's about how you say it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you and I can have a conversation, and we might need to hold each other accountable or correct one another. It's not about what you say, but it's about how you say it, right? If you come and your delivery is off, we may not be receptive to one another to receive what it is that you have to say, right? And I think that's the same case for us as men. We have to be careful how we deliver. We have to be very careful of our delivery when we say certain things, right? And you got to know who you are talking to, right? Because you may be able to talk to one person one way, and doesn't mean that we're talking negatively, but we might be a little more straightforward with one person, and the next person might not be able to handle that, right? And that's why I think we just have to be aware and be wise in our choice of words.
Mm-hmm.
And also to our queens out there, you don't have to subject yourself to allowing people to talk to you like that too, right? The reason why Kevin Samuels was able to get his platform is because women kept calling in. Men kept calling in too because he gave advice to men and women. So, you don't have to subject yourself to that type of, you know, uh, to be degraded, talked about, told you aren't good enough. Yeah, nah, you don't gotta take it. And if I'm around, I won't allow nobody to do it to you. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's real. That's real. Like we gotta hold each other accountable.
Hmm.
I'm very big on that because at the end of the day, I got two sisters out here, so it's like,
Yeah, I got three, and so listen,
check
nah,
it, check your homeboys. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? Like, hey, certain stuff we ain't gonna allow.
mm-mm.
But anyways, you know what I'm saying, and you know what I'm saying, I'm really sending healing energy to Kevin Samuel's family.
Yeah,
For those left behind, definitely,
prayers up for sure.
definitely, man, definitely. So yeah, hopping back into this world of travel as we do things, 'cause I know a lot has been going on in the United States, right? And so, but
Hmm.
at the end of the day, like it's just been a lot. And speaking about the United States, I know we did some international travel, a couple of weeks, well, about a month ago, and can't believe it's been a month, man.
This has been a month. It flew by.
It did,
Sheesh.
it did.
Yeah,
And I've
it's
been like
a
just
month
going.
to the day because we came back on the we came back on the 12th, the 11th of April, and now it's
Yeah,
May 11th.
yeah.
Woo.
It's just,
Yeah,
I will say that's probably one of my top three trips.
yeah,
We'll say that.
for sure,
We'll
for
say that.
sure. Hmm.
I'm glad, and I'm so glad that we did a great job of documenting it. I've been running through the shared album, just reminiscing some nights, like, dang.
Yeah, I'm still trying to compile everything. So we trying to comb through that shared document, make sure everybody comb through their phones one more time so I can get all the footage. But yeah, we definitely did document it. Whether it makes YouTube or not, that's still a question mark. But we're gonna try our best to at least put
We'll see.
something. Yeah.
But one of the things that was an obstacle when we were getting ready to travel, because as we were getting ready for that trip to go to Europe, as y'all we talked about going to Santorini and Milan and to Amsterdam, was
Mhm.
that once we got over there, it was fairly easy to travel throughout Europe. Like we bounced around country to country, ain't nobody really asking for a lot of documentation. They just want that boarding pass.
Mhm.
But the United States was made it difficult was that we had to strategically plan how we were going to get our COVID test to come back into the United States.
Yeah.
And so, with the United States, regardless of vaccination status, you have to get a COVID-19 test within 24 hours to enter your states. And so, I know MP, you went a different route. Y'all did the virtual test for the first time, and it
Mhm.
turned out to work perfectly. Uh,
Perfect.
Myself and one of our other friends, CJ, who was traveling with me, we elected to do a test at one of our layover stops, flying back into Amsterdam from Santorini. And so we did that. But it was just an obstacle, right? Like we getting off the plane from a 4-hour flight. We in London trying to clear customs. Still got to go get a test, and then got to clear customs again to get back on the plane. So it was a
Yes.
lot. It was a lot.
Yeah, if you're traveling through Europe, don't lay over in London because you're gonna have to go through customs.
Yeah, and then their customs is like you got to put every single liquid in a plastic bag.
Right.
It's annoying. So I don't know why. Everybody does it different, but that was just different. It takes a while. So know that now. But at the end of the day, though, we're looking at is that the White House is now being pressured to actually drop the COVID-19 testing to enter the United States. And this letter was sent to the White House with over 260 companies signing off on it. Some
Mm.
big names include Delta Airlines, United Airlines, American Airlines, the Hilton Hotel chain, and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and
That's
Disney.
crazy.
Yeah, so the big dogs are involved, right? And it's just like it's interesting too because like
Yeah, cause
what is mind-boggling to me is that they're requiring us a test to come back to this country, but then ain't none of the states requiring no COVID restrictions though.
well, you the state none of the states we've never had to test to fly domestically, right? And I do think yeah, man, it's the main reason is because it's messing up their money. If their money wasn't being messed up, they wouldn't care. They wouldn't even care. But when you like the companies you name, like Delta, Disney, those they get a lot of business from people who don't live within the U.S. Right? And so it's starting to affect the money. And so they trying to get it changed. And we know that sometimes that works. That turns out to be very beneficial and works in their favor. Right? Just like I think we alluded to a couple of weeks ago about the CEO of Delta, right? Like, yo, you need to change these quarantine days, and what happened? They changed.
Well, Ed
Uh,
Basin is sound, so we will wait to see what's going on. But you want airlines off of something that gets done, so I won't be surprised if they're ready to drop that pretty soon. But some of the exciting was that as you look at the immunity in the population, We're in
Mm-hmm.
a much different place than we were a few years ago. And then also when we look at like things returning to pre-pandemic stages, like students going back to school, folks going back to work in person, and then like other normal activities that are resuming. People are going to concerts and festivals now, and so when you see that, let's be honest, the U.S. has handled the pandemic as one of the worst developed countries in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had higher surges. It was outbreak after outbreak, you know what I'm saying? And so when you look at it, like considering all the technology and things that we have in the health medical field available to us, you would think that we would have handled this pandemic much better. But the question is we've gotten rid of mask mandates for flights. And so why are we now requiring folks to test to come back into the country? Is interesting. So we'll see how this is going to play out.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Definitely see how that plays out. I think we saw that it worked. It is working because we're able to go to Europe and we didn't have to test to get in, which is different from when we went out of the country to Egypt last year, right? And maybe to some of the other places that you've gone to. So we know that it's still easy to move about, right? I think it boils down to people being honest with themselves. If you were sick, don't get on that plane. If you don't feel well, do not cancel the trip, postpone it, reschedule it. And so, yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how the U.S. moves forward. Now that mask mandates are not on the planes anymore. So because now it's kind of counterproductive, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and one of the other things too that's interesting too is that the United States is not required foreign by land from the United States or Canada to test negative to enter.
Hmm.
And so that was one of the reasons they cited too as well. It's like, hey, it might be time to reconsider the testing mandate to come into the United States by plane.
For sure.
And shout out to Canada because they ain't playing no games with COVID-19, and
Listen,
they handled it
they
much
did. They did
different
a
than the
good
United
job.
States.
They did a good job. But can we come back in now? Look, I need to go on. We can go back now, but I need to go in there
Yeah.
and plan a trip.
Well, everything is
Oh,
about money in the United States. Canada was
yeah.
like, look, y'all can have the American baseball team. They can go play somewhere else. Like they was like, look, the Blue Jays can go play down there in Florida. Like they was like, yo, Toronto
Right.
Raptors, NBA, y'all go down there in the United States and play, but
So
we not
yeah, I'll
gonna
go
play with
stay
y'all.
over there. Don't come back. Come back after the season over.
Which is interesting too. Was an interesting point, right? And so when we talked about women's rights, right?
Mm-hmm.
The As we know, the WNBA does not get the same funding as the NBA. We do
Mm-hmm.
understand that there's some differences as far as funding and things like that. Cool. But at the same time, like as professional athletes, it's crazy that they have to go overseas to get treated better, right? They make much more money overseas playing over there. They get treated better. The culture is better for women and things like that. And
Mm-hmm.
so one of the things that has happened is that the WNBA has a COVID protocol plan in place, but they still flying their players around on regular flights. And one of the
Just
players tested positive for COVID after flying on a regular commercial flight.
right.
And it was like, but the NBA flies private charter flights, but y'all flying us around here and people ain't got to wear masks no more.
Mm-mm. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
So yeah, that's what's going on in the world. I know it was a lot, y'all, but it's been a lot going on since we last talked, and so we definitely want to make sure that we're abreast of what's going on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Matt. But I know some other big things that happened since we've been away. So, what you want to tell the family about what's been going on?
Listen, the purpose of today's episode is just to check in with you all, just to let you know what's going on with the travel hour. We've had some dope things happen, have some dope things happening. And so we just want to kind of pause and just kind of celebrate us for a moment, right? And thank you all again, because it's because of your support that we are able to, have some of the successes that we are having. And so if you've been following us on social media, you would have saw are seeing rather that we made it to Ebony magazine. Um, where's the need the we made it to Ebony magazine, and that's huge. You know, they were looking for a segment to put into their travel section on their website. And shout out to our publicist Mariah, and she got us squared away. And we're able to submit an article, and they published it the same day we submitted the article, right? And so that's definitely exciting. I'm gonna let Jock hop on a little bit more and talk about that Ebony piece.
Yeah, super grateful to be featured in Ebony and magazine. It's a great platform, and at the end of the day, like we're doing this for y'all, family. So we really want y'all to get out there and travel, and so we understand to do that. We want to build y'all up. You know, we want to make the journey a little easier than it was for us, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so if we can leave some for y'all to take, we've done our job, right?
Yep.
But yeah, Ebony magazine covered our story, and one of the biggest things we're talking about is that as the restrictions are being eased throughout the country, domestically and things like that, is that summer travel is real. We outside this summer. And so 2022 has been one of those times where we're inching towards a pre-pandemic phase. And so we want to give y'all some travel tips. So if you have not, make sure you get over to the Travel Hour page on Instagram, follow us on our social media, and also go to the link and check out this article, which is talking about some hacks, some tips for traveling during the summer. Hey, like the meme I shared with you today, Matt. These flights are higher than the plane right now.
They are. They
Man,
are.
they high. They are high. Like I'm sitting here looking like, yeah, I'm gonna be at home this
Yeah,
summer.
I'm be kind of central, right? Central to LA. If I can't, yeah,
Unless
but
I can
yeah,
drive there or I can find me a little deal, I'm gonna be at home this summer.
for sure, for sure.
So just ironing out some things in case you want to do some traveling this summer to help you out and get those things done. So like summer's gonna be big. I mean, MP, what you got planned for the summer?
I don't really have anything real planned for the summer. I'm kind of in transition with my job, so just trying to play. I don't want to say play it safe, but just kind of make sure everything levels out, right? And once I secure a new job, I'll be able to kind of see where the summer is going. But right now, I don't really have anything too planned outside of. I know I have a high school reunion this year, and so I may fly back to Charlotte for that, or the South Carolina have to fly to Charlotte. But and then maybe possibly uh planning something, trip to Houston for my 32nd birthday in July. So that's about it. Yeah, that's it for the most part. Yesterday I was presented with an opportunity. Um, it's not a free opportunity, so I don't know if I'll be able to take it with this short notice. But our church, like the whole denomination as a whole, is doing a trip to Ghana in August. And so if they say they want to sponsor your boy, I might be on that plane in August, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
We're gonna have to talk to Bishop because
Right.
we need you to
Say,
go to Ghana.
Bishop, my passport. I'm gonna say, Bishop, my passport is always ready. I think I would make a great candidate for whatever scholarship y'all gonna give me to go on this trip. And so we don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see what the summer has in store. Right. I think that would be dope if I could make it to Ghana. Because we definitely have churches over there, so it's like their ministry of tourism that's inviting everybody from the states over and have like all this stuff laid out, going to the beaches, going to all the scenic places, and all that stuff. So all the historic sites and whatnot. So it probably would be a dope trip, but it's too early to tell right now.
Man, well, I'm hoping that something comes through and that you can make that trip because Ghana's definitely on my list. And for most African Americans, well, most Black folks in America, we have Ghanaian roots because we come from West African tribes,
Hmm.
and so that's big. Just being able to see the point of no return, seeing the great infrastructure that's in Ghana, and then I heard like Ghana's a good time. You have a good time in Ghana.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of conflicted, right? Because granted, if they say they're gonna take care of me, I will go, and just have to go again with the homies. But I probably would want to go with the homies so I can really have a good time.
Well, you got to go out
um,
there and get all the spots and then come back and
right,
report. And then,
I'm coming back so I can be a lower tier guide tour guide when we go back for when we had the top tour guide. But yeah, so we'll see. We'll see. What about you? What you got anything planned for the summer?
I really, and I intentionally want this to be a low key summer. Like I front loaded this year with travel,
Hmm.
so I hit a lot of places. I think I hit Puerto Rico, went to New Orleans for Mardi Gras, hit Europe, hit 3 countries in Europe, and I'm going to Colombia at the end of the month. So the summer I wanted to be kind of chill. Got a birthday coming up in June, but I'm gonna stay local. And then we have a wedding to go to in September in
Right.
Mexico.
Hmm.
So I'm really just planning on really just chilling. Really just like, I think this is one thing that I fought myself on. And I've lived in multiple cities as an adult, but I've got to do a better job of really like just honing in and exploring the city I live in.
Yeah. Hmm.
So I want to do a better job of that. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's what my focus is going to be this summer.
That's what's up. I think it's very important to kind of get to know what's in your backyard, right? And that's something that I'm trying to do a little more here in LA and California, because there is a lot to see. Like Catalina Island, Joshua Tree, all these different national parks and stuff that you can go to. You just gotta, take the time and not be, because we have a great time going and get on the plane, but there's so much you don't have to go on a plane to get to, and that's still a good time. So that's something that I'm also looking towards doing this summer, and also so I can, finally I'm getting closer to getting back into the whole YouTube rhythm, and so we got to have some content for the people. So yeah, I think that's kind of what my summer is going to entail outside of those few trips that I am planning to take. A lot of it, most of it will be local here in LA. So if anybody listening, y'all want to come to LA, hit me up.
If I find me a cheap flight on somebody, I'm be out there. I got
Oh
a
yeah,
budget.
you definitely got to come in the summer, like July. I think that's when they do the HBCU Greek picnic. Not the Cali Greek picnic. This is something different.
Mhm.
But this one is more specifically geared towards those who went to HBCUs. And that's normally in Pasadena, so it's pretty lit. Always a good time.
You got to share dates because yeah. I'm gonna definitely have. If the flights are reasonable, I will do that.
Yes,
And
sir.
I saw some stuff on the TikTok the other day. They got some sea salt like pools in Laguna Beach. Did I send you that,
You didn't, but I wouldn't be surprised. And I don't live far
bro?
from Laguna.
They look amazing. It's like these like they built them for a movie on the side of the beach, and
Hmm.
they built like these natural like sea salt pools, and they overlook like the ocean right there.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna
Uh,
have to check that out.
yeah, bro.
That's definitely being added to my summertime list.
I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna definitely see. But next time I go to LA, like we definitely gotta hit that up.
Yeah,
Man,
for sure.
if you go before me, just let me know how it is.
For sure, for sure. Uh, yeah. Outside of the travel, I think summer is gonna be this summer in particular is gonna be a really good summer because it's like almost like our first summer without, depending on what state you live in, without heavy restrictions. I know in California we were like the first, one of the first with the mask mandate, and one of the last to like take it off. So I know a lot of places now, um, masks are not mandatory. I think it's only mandatory in like hospitals, um, public transportation, so like your subway, the metro, and the buses, and maybe still in ride shares. But outside of
Yeah,
that,
and I took a ride share. Like I know for a
mhm.
fact that Lyft is not mandating mask anymore.
Okay,
Not sure
perfect.
about Uber though.
Okay, yeah. So it's gonna be interesting to see um, what this summer holds. I'm excited uh, to kind of. I mean, I can't. I don't want to use the word normalcy because things will never go back to the way it was, right?
Mhm.
But just kind of be able to move a little more freely throughout the summer, and things, and like gatherings and concerts and all of those things happening again. I know everybody's like big about, there's a concert out here, like Kurt Franklin or whatever. He's coming out here in July, so people are kind of gearing up for that. as well as all the other. I miss music festivals, so I'm looking forward to those too. So yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at for the summer. I just rambled. I just said a lot. I really didn't say anything, but it's
No, you're
cool.
good. Yeah, I definitely that resonates. I want to do. I haven't really been to a lot of concerts or music festivals, and that's one thing I do want to start doing more often. And so hopefully I can start exploring. I was talking to a friend the other day, and they set it up. I guess Kirk Franklin's going to be on tour this summer with a couple of other artists, but them tickets was kind of high. I was like, ooh, uh, I ain't got that. So I
Listen,
said, you know
what do you
what?
say? When you want to smile, but the debts are high. When the funds are low and the debts are high,
You want to
and
smile,
you
but you
want to
have to
smile,
sigh.
but you gotta sigh.
Yeah, when
Listen,
Kirk
we
is pressing
understand.
you down a bit.
Right, right. So listen, we might have to
So,
just watch through Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok.
yeah. And so one of the things I did want to talk about that you touched on, I think this might be, a good way to really like close us out, but um something hit me. And as we look at as we have gone through this season of COVID, as we work through this pandemic and just try to figure things out, right?
Hmm.
One thing I've noticed is that, at the end of the day, I believe I'm so thankful for this experience because not only will one day I'll tell my grandkids like, yeah, I lived through this pandemic, right? Um, and I'm also thankful that my elders are still here
Yeah, yeah.
through everything that happened. Like I'm so grateful that I didn't lose anybody close to me to this deadly disease. But
Hmm.
um, we've also gone through like a great awakening, man.
Yeah,
Um, and
yeah. I will. Yeah,
it forced us to sit down. It
yeah.
really forced us to sit down and really take a look inside and figure out like what's going on. You
Hmm.
like I never knew like, dang, I really gotta sit down and sit with myself and
Yeah.
how scary that can be, right? Um,
It's crazy. Yeah, I will say this. It was funny because I was just having a conversation a couple of weeks ago with somebody, actually the owner of Stomping Stigma, stigmastomping.com, right? And we are talking about how the pandemic really forced people to deal with them, right? You had 2 years you had to sit down and really deal with yourself, right? And you had to deal with people saying, well, if you haven't done anything, if you haven't started anything during this pandemic, then you didn't do anything. While on the other hand, you had people who was like, yo, I'm barely making it through the day, right? And so, yeah, the pandemic has caused a great awakening. I think it showed to a lot of people areas of improvement where they need to improve and can improve. It showed areas and where people can be make money, and start businesses. It also showed, I know, to some people in areas like that may have been working in jobs like, oh yeah, this is not what I want to do. I
mhm.
think that's one thing that I went through, was like, yo, like I need to make some changes because this has really shown me. I think the pandemic has also made us a little more conscious of time, right? And this
Mm,
life, right? And we just don't want to be wasting our life. We've seen so many people like check up out of here, and we just don't want to be wasting our time and whatever time we have left, whether it's 60, 70, 80 years, or whether it's 10 months. We don't want to waste our time just doing stuff aimlessly. So I think, yeah, the Great Awakening has happened for a lot of people, whether on whatever, regardless of what level you find yourself at during this pandemic.
agreed. And I think I went through that myself. And one of the biggest things I came back to was after having to like deal with myself and sit through myself.
Hmm.
Well, first things first is that I took my black ass to therapy.
Yeah, that's one of my goals this year is to find a therapist.
And that was a stigma in our community that we just don't talk about.
Hmm.
Even though that suicide is one of the black men have one of the highest rates of suicides amongst any
Hmm.
demographic in the states. And so just to sit down, and it's not saying that necessarily like I think we had this stigma growing up, and especially in the church, was that you don't go see nobody to talk about your problems. You go talk to God.
Yeah, yeah.
And and I had family members die of suicide. We didn't talk about that. We just didn't talk about how they died.
Hmm.
And because it was a lot of times because we held so much in.
Yeah, it was. We lived in a culture where what goes on in this house stays in this house, right? We don't go out and talk about what's going on to other people or whatever. I think a lot of things it boiled down to keeping this image or this facade that we felt like we had to keep, especially for those of us who grew up in like the church world and church culture. Um, there was this image we always had to perpetuate, and so we didn't create space to be able to talk about our feelings or things that may have bothered us, made us sad or made us anxious. Which is about just go pray about it, go get in the prayer line, and then let's move on with life. So yeah.
And that's tough because at the end of the day, like there's some things that just can't be prayed away. And
Mm-mm.
so, um,
You need prayer and therapy. Prayer it worked, but you need
yeah,
therapists. You need
you do.
therapy too.
You definitely do. You can have a car, but if it ain't got wheels, it ain't going nowhere, right?
Listen,
And
hello.
so, I think that that's the beauty about it is just like being able to work through myself, being able to work on things, and really just what I look at is like the cheat code to life for me.
Hmm.
Because if I can figure out the inner workings of myself on how to manipulate my life moving forward, or understanding like this is what triggers you, right?
Yeah.
Or this is what you should
Hmm.
be doing to focus, even like just to talk about like how to take care of yourself. What does yourself need so that you don't get to a point where you and you know what I'm saying a rut. And
Hmm.
so that's been super helpful. And one of the things for me that I learned that I took away was that like traveling is therapeutic for me, bro. Like
Yeah, yeah.
it,
That those first couple of months
whoo,
was very hard. I think from like everything shut down in May of 2020. From May to maybe I didn't really go anywhere. May to ooh, maybe until about the time we went to Egypt, which was April. Granted, I had like went to Lake Tahoe and went to Vegas, but I wasn't able to go home to go see my people, stuff like that, and just plan trips and stuff like that. And it took a toll on me. I ain't gonna lie. Like,
yeah.
I was like, would jokingly tell like my coworkers, like my therapy has been taken away from me.
Yeah, and especially when you live by yourself, like
Right? Yeah.
at first, like everybody was scared to do everything. Like you trying to run it, scurry in the grocery store and scurry back out and hurry up and
Right.
do different stuff. It's like okay, like one day at one point, like my life was grocery store, go to the park, and be in the house all day.
Hmm.
And so living by yourself that can be tough. And then of course you started to gradually graduate. It was like okay, I'm gonna go visit this group of friends, but that's
Yeah.
it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm going right back home after that. But
Hmm.
um, it was a different place to be in. And one of the things that I took away from that was that I wanted to live a life where I could do the things that really I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And during this pandemic, I went through a career change
Hmm.
where I was like, yo, I've been in this career for 8 years. I'm on an upward trajectory. I love what I do. And when I really took a step back to sit back down and figure out where I was at, I realized I was in a space that no longer served me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Meaning that, yes, I bring this skill set to the table. My skill set can also be used in other ways, right? And I realized that I was giving more of me to the job, and I had not a lot left for myself.
Yeah. And I
Like
think, okay.
the biggest thing was like, I want to see the world, bro. I really want to see the world. And what I'm saying, during the great resignation that we're calling it now, is that going through a career change, that was one of the biggest things. I had to sit down and deal with myself and say, hey, this is the skill set I bring to the table. How can I use this skill set in a different setting? But then also have the work-life balance I need to really get out here and do what I want to do.
Right. Yeah. I think I'm at that point now, right? Especially because we before you made that career change, we were in the same career field, right? And it's you have to play a certain game to get ahead in that particular career field, right? And it's
Mhm.
very degree oriented and all these things. Um, but at the same time, it's like I'm doing all of this, but I'm seeing other people like, and not that I'm comparing myself to other people who are not in the field that I'm in, making more money and being able to they have the flexibility to do what they want to do. Granted, I'm thankful for the job that I have, and the flexibility that comes with it, but at the same time, I don't necessarily want to be in the office every day from 9 to 5, right? So I think I'm to that point now. And so, yeah, yeah, we'll see what's to come. But
Yeah,
I
I think
will.
that's one of the good things that have come from this, right? I think
Hmm.
that, at the end of the day, millennials have led this charge. They stood up and said, hey, like, our parents worked hard and we appreciate them for working hard to put us in this position.
Hmm.
But going into office 9 to 5 and working 40 hours a week for 40 years to retire and have a few years left ain't the move no more.
Right. And I think that's what fears me in a sense, right? Like knowing how precious, right, time is and how tomorrow isn't promised, right? Like I don't want to wake up tomorrow and then I'm struck with this illness and I haven't really lived life as life hasn't been fulfilling as I would hoped it to be. I guess that's the right way to say it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of like, how do I maximize the time that I have, right? Living each day as though it potentially may be my last day, but also feeling like I'm fulfilled, still doing things that I enjoy doing. And so, granted, I'm praying for longevity and a long life. I want to make it to 102 and 3 and 4.
Uh-huh.
Uh, but, how do I maximize, the time that I have now, right? How can I set myself up with a successful career that still is, like you said, is lending to my future in the places that I want to go, right? And still allow me to see the world. Like you said, we appreciate our parents for working so hard, but the times have changed, right? We don't have to, we still are working hard, but it doesn't have to be in a brick and mortar,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, listen.
And let's unpack that just a little bit more, right?
Mhm.
We don't have to work hard to prove our worth.
Right.
Our our success should not be immediately tied to how hard we work.
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, it's a lot of folks that got ahead that have not worked hard.
Listen, it's a lot of people that's in these jobs that don't, they barely come to work and still got their job. Yeah, we want to stay and be scared to take off because we feel like everything gonna fall apart, and we losing sleep, we stressed out, not eating right for what? I
In the
think
words of Nipsey Hussle, man, live your life and grow, man.
right. If it's not lending to your future, and I think that's the space that I'm in now. Like, yo, if this is not lending into, it's not leading me into the direction in which I see myself going,
Mhm.
and the plans and the vision that I have for my life, then I might not need to be there.
And that's perfectly fine. I think like as especially black people, um, we have an inherited skill set, meaning that the world is, especially the United States, is moving towards a more globalized society, which means that folks are paying for DEI. And I'm
Hmm.
going to be quite honest with you. A lot of white folks don't want to talk to minorities. We inherently know how to do that most times. And so at the end of the day, like you're bringing something to the table. When you interview, like when you go to interview, you also interview in these companies that you're trying to work for as well. Understand what you bring to the table and negotiate your worth,
Yeah.
because your time is so important and so precious.
Hmm.
And when you see folks like, I used to see people on Instagram that work remotely and be like, dang, like they going here and there.
It's obtainable. You can do it too. That's
Yeah.
that's what I've learned over the last, like, and I have a lot of friends who, whose jobs went remote because of the pandemic, but they are now remote indefinitely. And I just like, dang, like, yo, like, you know, my job, we went remote, but we don't have a policy that says we can work remote, right? And so now that the world is open back up, we got to go back. And, there is not even like being able to work home for maybe like 2 days a week or something like that. And so, yeah, we got a lot to, if you can find you a remote job, this is for people. Some people enjoy going to the office every day. If that's you, more power to you, right? We support you 100%. But I think for those um, who, for me, like my friends know if I give me a job where I don't have to go physically to the office every day, the first thing they say is like, "Oh, you ain't gonna never be here,"
Yeah, you're gonna be gone.
so I mean, um, and so yeah. Uh, Shout out to COVID for literally. I feel like it tore the veil from our eyes. Right, we able to open our eyes and we able to see a little more clearly. Right, as to
Mhm.
what we want to do and how we can be successful. But it may not look like what our parents and grandparents did, but success is still out there to be had.
Big facts. Big facts. Well, I appreciate you for dropping those gems, brother. And it's real. So we encourage all of our Travel Hour family to really do what serves you. But Matt, I know they've been waiting on the wondering tip of the week. So what you got for the people today?
Listen, the wandering tip of the week. Listen, we came across this dope bag that would be beneficial. It's the creator of this travel bag is a black person. So we like to support black owned businesses here on the Travel Hour podcast. And so this particular bag is called the Takeoff Luggage. This bag has detachable wheels that you can take off of your luggage. And the good thing about it is that it fits in the bin of a personal item. So it's not as big as a regular carry-on, but you can get away with taking this as a personal item and still being able to take a carry-on item and not have to pay for any other bags. So I'm gonna let Jock talk about it a little bit more, and then we're gonna talk about this bag.
Yeah, it's a pretty dope thing I came across as well today. And looking at it, it was like, hey, one of the things that the airline industry is shifting to is charging folks for even carry-on bags, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about that, they can range from the $30 a pop to up to, saying $65, $70 a pop. Once you
Yeah.
start adding in those costs and then you double them up round trip, you could be spending more for the bags than the actual flight cost you, right? And so this bag gives you the opportunity to really save some money. And I like to fly budget airlines. A lot of times, you find really good deals, and so this will help you to get the stuff that you need to take with you, but then also have the room to not have to pay like an extra $100 on a trip for just bags. So yeah, and I
Mm-hmm.
think like the thing is with the thing, with the luggage is that it's almost the size of a regular like roll on carry on, but when you remove the wheels, it takes it down to the specifications of a personal item.
Yeah, and you can fit it up under your seat on the plane if you take the wheels off.
So yeah, it's not a bad deal, man. I can't complain
Yeah.
about that.
So if you are interested in learning more about this bag, you can go to takeoffluggage.com or you can go to their Instagram. I believe their Instagram is takeoff luggage. And you can see it for yourself. And takeoff luggage, if you listen to us, yeah, come ahead and sponsor the travel hour. Uh, since we out here giving you free promo.
Tap in with us.
Right.
But yeah, man, it's been real. It's been a great conversation. It's good to check in with you.
Likewise.
Yeah. Where can the people find us?
So if you are listening, y'all hear me say this every episode. You can
Get them
find
right.
us on you can find us on Instagram at the THEE Travel Hour, Instagram, um, YouTube, all of our streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music. You can find us there under that name. And if you're listening, listen, we need y'all to help us, right? We want y'all to let us know how you've been enjoying these episodes. And so if you have the opportunity to leave a review on the podcast, I know Apple Podcasts allows you to leave a review, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Listen, let us know how you are enjoying the podcast, right? Because we want to be able to make sure that we are covering and presenting information that you all really want to hear. So, let us know how we're doing. Let us know what you'd like to hear us talk about, and so that we can have that interaction engagement with you all, right? So, yeah, if you haven't already subscribed, added this to your podcast list, what are you waiting on?
What are you doing? You sit on the couch,
What are you doing?
hit subscribe, download us, and also for real, like it if you do
Right.
like it. And if
If
you
you're on
can, leave a review.
YouTube, if you're on
Yeah.
YouTube, leave a thumbs up and comment. Listen,
All that. We need all that.
we need all of it. Yeah, Jock, where can they find you on social media?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram, the Zixter, the underscore Zixter with two G's. That's where you can find me. And so follow your boy on Instagram. That's where I'm at. And you can also tap in with the travel hour stuff. So yeah,
Yes, sir. You can
yes,
follow me
sir.
on Instagram at according to to and not the number MP, according to MP. And yeah, connect. I follow back. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Yeah. So it's about that time, but
It's about that time.
before we leave, you know what we got to do.
What we gotta do?
We like to leave y'all with something positive. And so
Something positive.
whatever's on your spirit, whatever's comes to your heart. I love putting you on the spot, MP,
You probably put me on the spot.
because
Listen,
you always have the right words to say, good brother. What you got for the people today in this positive vibe that we leave them on?
listen. I think today's episode was definitely beneficial. We just wanted to check in with you all and um, express our gratitude towards you. But I think today the highlight or the overarching message, I think we talked a lot about doing what lends to your future, right? So if you are in a space where you are trying to figure out what you need to do and you're a little hesitant, go ahead and take that step. Just take that step, leap of faith, whatever you want to call it, and be confident in that leap of faith. And I guarantee you that everything's going to work together, because the world is yours, the world is ours, right? It's our canvas, and it's time for us to get to painting. So that we get to paint our own story. That's what I like about it. And the good thing about a canvas is you mess up, start over. So yeah, don't hold back. We've been in the house for 2 years, and now we finally get to come out the house. And you need to do what makes you happy. Do what makes you feel successful. Go where you want to go. You got your therapy back. If traveling was therapeutic for you, go ahead and hop back on them planes. Wear your mask. I know they saying don't wear your mask. Wear your mask if that's your thing. I know I was on a flight. I felt guilty for not having my mask on, so I just put it on. But yeah, so do what lends to your future and sets you up for the best possible place that you see yourself going. That's all I got. I hope I said something.
I love it, brother. Do what you do, but wash my shoes because I know we outside
Right.
this year. So
Hello.
do what you do, man.
Don't step on my white forces now. I don't even wear forces, but don't step on them.
Don't step on the whites. But yeah,
All
it's been
whites.
real. It's been real. I appreciate you. Shout out to our co-host. Shout out to the Travel Hour, and once again,
Yeah,
shout out to our
definitely.
publicist, Mariah. Also, shout out to our Travel Hour family. Without y'all, we're nothing, right?
Yeah.
And so,
Nothing.
the reviews are good, the likes are good, the downloads are great. But at the end of the day, we here for y'all, so we appreciate y'all.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we got some new cities and countries popping up on the map, so we really appreciate y'all. So let's keep that same energy for this episode and the episodes to come.
Yes, sir.
Well, Jack,
Well,
I think we've done our due diligence for today. Thank you, Travel Hour fam. Thank you, Joc. And until next time, we'll catch you again on episode 7 of the Travel Hour.
yes, sir. Signing out.
Signing off.